Hey guys, welcome back to Mark Remeets World. I'm your host, Mark Levy, and before I go any further, I want to show you guys something really cool.
Hey Mark, what's up, my friend? We met at NYCC or the New York Comic Con. I think that's awesome. And I do remember that you said you became an actor because of all that good stuff, and now you're rewatching the show and all those fun things. So Mark Remeets World, gonna have to check that out. Perfect title. And I'm glad you hit me up, man. Hopefully the craziness out there will be over soon, and the convention circuit will start again, and we'll get a chance to meet everybody again, back around, because we want to hang out and say hi to our fans and friends and everybody we miss and hang out with and hear all good stories about becoming actors and all that good stuff. So until then, stay home, stay safe, do all the stuff you got to do, but then come back out to the conventions and we'll enjoy our life again. All right, Mark, see ya.
Isn't that awesome? I mean, yeah, I spent money on that, but it's really cool, and I'm really thankful for that. For today's episode, we're going to be talking about Grandma Was a Rolling Stone, and that you can watch on Disney Plus or however way you want to watch it. It's a great episode we have coming up from Mark Meets World, where I and you rewatch Boy Meets World and enjoy together. Today we have a special guest, Shamira Clark, who will be joining us on Zoom, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Please rate, review, subscribe, all that stuff. And after this, you'll see Shamira Clark. And we're back. Oh my God, I'm so excited right now. This is so great. One of my favorite people in Brooklyn is here. The absolute queen of Brooklyn, Shamira Clark. How are you?
I'm doing very good. How are you holding up?
I'm doing good. I mean, good in theory. Like, not good in theory is better than what could be,
I mean, at least we've got like Disney Plus and these episodes to keep us company. It's honestly helping my sanity. So
yeah. I mean, as for those that do not know, Shamira is probably step for step, she's probably like 2 steps ahead of me in Boy Meets World fandom. We're both the same age, so she'll be coming back a lot on the show.
Yay.
If you like her.
Can I show my DVD cases?
Yes, because she has a week that I don't have.
So I have season 1, season 2, season where'd it go? Season 3.
Okay.
Season 4.
Uh-huh.
Season 5.
Uh-huh.
And season 6. I do not have season 7 unless maybe it's just buried somewhere. But yeah, turns out I have 6 seasons of this.
And there are 7, so that's pretty darn good. That's like what, like 80? No, that's not 80. That's like 83%. I don't know. I'm not good with math. Like it's good.
Most of it, which I'm surprised because I didn't realize I had that many episodes because it's just like part of my brain and my psyche.
I mean, like for me, it's all enough one of the few shows I never bought on DVD because of the fact that I watched it so much that I can remember like so much of the show, and it was always on syndication when we were growing up,
Yeah.
So So today's episode, as I said earlier, is Grandma Was a Rolling Stone, which is such an interesting episode. Some of the important information about the episode: it first aired November 12th, 1993, directed by our friend David Schraner, and written by John Strauss and Ed Decter. The plot of the episode is Grandma comes to town, and the B plot is Eric decides to impress Feeney's niece. And both Grandma and the niece are played by people that are now famous. One of them was famous during the episode, and one of them is famous 4 years later.
Yeah. I don't think. Because that would have been 97.
How about this? I'm gonna put when Felicity aired right now.
Okay.
And yeah, I pointed down because that's where it's gonna be. Yeah. So first off, this is an episode that when I do my rewatch, I did not remember at all. Did you remember this episode?
Yes and no. So honestly, like I just rewatched the whole series like when Disney Plus came out. So I would say from December through up until like a couple weeks ago, I just kind of went through all of them.
Right.
So but before that, I didn't really remember this episode. And honestly, I gotta admit, it doesn't stand out to me. Like, it's just kind of like, it's not a throwaway episode because it's important canon-wise. Because I feel like we learn a lot about the Matthews and
especially the parents, yeah. Like
about the parents, yeah, and we find out some very interesting things about them. But from a kid perspective, I don't remember it just because there wasn't like any kid antics. You know what I mean? It wasn't like a very
well. There's kid antics. Like the whole B plot is kid antics, but like it's just very much like it's like older kid antics.
It's very like normal kid antics. You know what I mean? As opposed to like, I don't know. It just didn't draw me in as much as a kid as some of the other episodes.
Right.
So it's just kind of one that went over my head until I rewatched it. And I was like, oh, that's right. Like, I think the thing I remember most about it is the muffins. From like being a kid, I don't know why, but the kitchen full of muffins.
Oh, it's such a funny visual towards the end of the episode.
It really is.
I think part of the reason why this episode didn't mean much to me is because even though I know I watched it, I never really watched the Golden Girls too much, even as an adult. So like Rue McClanahan, I'm not like, oh my God! Like we'll get to her ovation when she enters because I timed it today. Yeah. Because it's not short. But let's kick it off right at the bat with like minute one. There's this is a very intriguing Feeney episode.
Yeah.
We get some. All right. So first off, there's gonna be like 5 sides of Feeney in this episode, like you refer to it as. We get evil Feeney, which happens about 15 seconds of the episode when he lies about the fish eating snails. Like the look on his face is so devious. Like he is so happy, like fucking with these kids.
Yeah, he really gets a kick out of it because I think they give him so much grief as a teacher that he really enjoys when he doesn't have to be in the teacher role and he can just kind of be like, you know, like an old man to them, you know, like the old man next door.
And this is the first episode where they are not at school at all. Like the whole episode is at the houses. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I guess is also why it wasn't so kid heavy. You know what I mean? Because
right. Yeah. Which is also why we'll have fun when it comes to the meekest minute later. But one of the things that it's so fascinating because I think it's the first time in the show where we get Feeney understands that Feeney is annoying. like the look on his like he's right there when Alan's just like, stop it. You should stop it. And like Feeney's just not stopping. It's just like Feeney knows that Feeney's annoying to everyone, doesn't he?
Yeah, and it's somewhat deliberate, you know what I mean? Yeah. I think it really is deliberate because he's like he lives next door to these kids that he also has to teach, and they get on his nerves. And so when he has the opportunity, he's gonna get on their nerves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because he also plays with Eric too. He kind of teases Eric a little bit about his niece.
Yeah, you know? Like he teases Eric. That's like we get creepy Feeney later, which is sorry, that was gonna come. But yeah. It's really funny though, like at the end of that scene, like Alan straight up implies that he's gonna become Feeney. Like, it's just like, oh, this is gonna be me in the future.
Which is interesting because I mean, well, not to jump ahead in time per se, but is it okay if I talk about some of the later episodes too?
No, yeah, totally fine.
Okay, so it is interesting comparatively that like Alan could have, in a sense, become Feeney until they have the baby, right? You know, because that's what saves him from like being an old man who's like alone telling his stories to nobody, is the fact that he has another child to raise by the end of this, you know?
Yeah. I mean, we're not gonna get to those episodes like for another like year and a half probably, because that's what, season 5 or so?
6, I think. It's after they graduate that the baby is actually.
You're right. Yeah.
Born, or around the time they graduate. Yeah, because Amy's pregnant, I think, when they go to prom, something like that. So it's like much later.
Which prom episode? I can't wait to get the prom episode. Oh my god!
and I know you haven't really watched Girl Meets World, which I do encourage you to do, because some of these storylines come back into play, and it's interesting to hear, like, just even from a storytelling perspective, to hear Alan in the first season of this show say like that he could become Mr. Feeney and could become this old man who's like alone telling his stories to no one, and then to get to see ahead in time 20 years. I think it's about like a full 20 years almost that we go in time, where you see him now being a father of an older father to this like young teenager. So we do get glimpses of that. So it's very interesting to kind of see from a storytelling standpoint how this all ends up weaving together,
Yeah. I mean, I have my issue with Girl Meets World. I don't hate it. I don't love it. I'm very much like, it's a Disney show. That's it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I definitely maintain on watching all the episodes that have like definitely.
I made a list for you, and I'll give you the list.
I know you did. I knew you were reviewing this from our text messages. I knew this was gonna happen.
It's a list of okay, so that way you can just get to like the meat and potatoes. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to watch like the
full on Disney Channel sitcom.
Yeah, you can skip that and just go to the ones that actually matter to the canon.
Yeah. I love how when we get introduced to Eric this episode, and Morgan, who is the star of last episode.
Love Morgan.
He's training her to be like his wingman, and like in the way of like Ivan Pavlov with his dog. he's like say it, and she says it like she's like, Eric Matthews the best brother, he's so dreamy or whatever, and then she's like, food.
Yeah, it's like giving her treats, and he's like, remember, ding, you come out, ding, come out, ding, come out, ding, come out. It's like literally training his little sister.
Literally training his little sister.
Training her. And I love that, because I feel like we don't get a lot of that dynamic as much when we get New Morgan. New Morgan had a very different dynamic. Like, old Morgan was very much like the sort of precocious little sister.
She's Michelle Tanner.
Yeah, she's definitely the Michelle Tanner of this. And we lose a bit of that when we get New Morgan back. Like, I don't think we get to see, I guess she does become more three-dimensional once they bring back New Morgan a little tiny bit, but we lose a lot of her being sort of being used by the older brothers.
Yeah.
But that's how like older siblings are, like they like kind of abuse you.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting that we lose a bit of that dynamic. They start treating her a bit more like a human being, but like I feel like the dynamic with old Morgan was a bit more realistic and more entertaining.
It's weird because I feel like, and I'll get there when New Morgan gets introduced in like 40 or 50 episodes from now. But I feel like it's very much Michelle Tanner versus Stephanie Tanner. She's still sassy, but martyr sassy.
Yeah.
World weary sassy.
That's
yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. And then we get the introduction of Grandma Matthews with La Cucaracha as her horn. And her car sounded like it's like, her Winnebago sounds like it's dying.
Yeah.
And you just hear it. And Eric looks scared, and he's like, "Grandma's home!" And he like runs out. And then the door opens. Rue McClanahan's there. Guess how long the ovation is from the audience?
I would say like a good 60 seconds, right?
16.
Oh wow! Wow.
Yeah, like she starts talking about like 15 seconds in, but like it's like the audience loses their shit. This is a year after Golden Girls. This is
so Golden Girls was off the air by this point?
Yeah, 1992. So I looked it up. It was Golden Girls off the air for 1 year.
Okay.
And the spin-off show that they did, like I think it was like Golden Palace or whatever. I'm gonna look that up right now because I do not want people to be like, "What the hell are you talking about?"
I do not remember this at all.
Oh, I looked it up today because I mean, if I'm doing an episode about Rue McClanahan, I want to be able to talk about Rue McClanahan, right? That was the Golden Palace, and where she played Blanche Devereaux again. Was on for one full season. So that just ended.
Wow.
Like 5 months before this. Okay. So like this is like end of peak Rue, I'd say, right?
Yeah. Yeah, like audiences definitely recognized her, and
they
which is
lost
interesting.
Their shit.
But it's interesting too, because I've always wondered this about the studio audiences back in the 90s, like, because of course they're told when to applaud, right?
Yeah, of course.
So my question for something like Boy Meets World is like, is the audience mostly kids or are they mostly adults? Is it like, I wonder what the ratio is, and how many of these kids like really recognize who Rue McClanahan was? Because like when you were younger, how often did you watch Golden Girls as a kid?
Not often. Like I'm really like I don't know. All I know is that Sophie is the sassy one.
I don't even really. I have to rewatch it. It's
I know someone's gonna like yell at me about this, like not like in comments, like in real life. It'll be like someone's gonna yell at me about this, and I'll be like, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, it's something that I definitely have to rewatch myself, because I only remember watching it like with like my mom. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, my mom's got Golden Girls on. I'm like sitting there like, okay. So it's so I just wonder how much of that was like, because she definitely earned that applause, but I do wonder how much of that was like the actual audience recognizing her, and if so, were those kids, and if not, was it just like they're told to applaud? But then again, you don't get a 16-second applause if people don't recognize you, so it had to be like mostly adults in this audience then.
I think so. I think it's probably 60-40 the audience, like 60% adults, tops 40% kids. And not that young kids, because like I mean, a TV show took like 3.5 hours back in the day, you know?
Yeah, because there were shows back in the day that I feel like you could sense it was the audience was more kids, because you could, from the reaction, like you could sense it. But this particular episode, at least, it felt, and then again, it could have been maybe like the first season thing, because maybe it hadn't like. Because in the first season, like when you're taping these, the show's not on yet, so it doesn't have its audience yet.
I mean, especially because I think it's like the end of the episodes that were taped before it started airing, for sure. Because then we do about like 6 or 7 episodes, and this is the 7th episode. So because Topanga gets introduced again next week, and she was supposed to be a one-off. So, but yeah, it's so fat. Like everything about her is so cool. Like her outfits, everything about it. It's just so like, it's so great. Like you understand why everyone loves her. Like we'll understand later that the parents have a very complicated relationship with her.
Right.
Yeah, but they still love her. Like really love her. Not like, yeah, we love her because we have to love her. They love her because they love her.
Right. Like they genuinely accept they accept who she is, and they're just like, yeah, that's who she is. Which I found very interesting.
Yeah. Like it's so like, because she comes in with gifts, and like she gives Morgan a shrunken head that's fake, because the real ones in Tijuana are more expensive than $1. She gives Eric a bullwhip,
which is awesome.
It's so fucking cool.
That's like an awesome gift.
Like she wants to buy clothes for Morgan, and Morgan's like, well, I'll wear them once and throw them on the ground, which is what I did with my grandparents. Then like she wants to take Eric to the car show. And she'll take Corey to Baltimore to watch Cal Ripken Jr. play, get him to sign a card.
Yeah.
That we find out later is a lot more valuable card than we thought it was. But that's it's like she is top tier grandma.
Yeah.
On paper, in theory, you know.
Yeah, she's like, I mean, I guess in a sense she's probably overcompensating a bit. Like if we were to get into like the complexities of like her relationship with Alan and all that stuff, it seems like he's like overcompensating, which I found this to be a very, very interesting storyline to put into a kid's show. You know what I mean? Like
the storyline of, hey, you're gonna be disappointed sometimes by things.
The story, not only the storyline about disappointment, but the way in which it was framed. I found that's such a specific way to frame disappointment. Like it wasn't disappointment like Corey tried out for a team and lost, and didn't make the team, or like, you know what I mean? Or like lost his favorite, like whatever, like collectible or something like that. It was very much, it seems, I'm very curious about the person that wrote this, and I would be interested to know like how close this story was to them in their life, because it's so specific.
Yeah.
It's like about an absentee like parental figure, you know?
Yeah.
Because really it's about the fact that Alan's mom wasn't really around, you know?
Yeah. And I
like,
mean, like she goes to her caravan, you know, like that's what she does.
She like up and leaves, and we learn from him that that's something that's not like a new thing that she does to her grandkids. This is something she like did to him as a child. So it's very interesting for them to like kind of bring that dynamic up and explore it in the way they did, and also to like not necessarily revisit it with the Matthews, but it gets revisited in like a lot of storylines as we go down the line with the other characters in the show. And additionally, I thought it was interesting too because, you know, so Alan and Corey are supposed to go on this fishing trip. And Corey forgets to tell Sean, and Sean shows up for the fishing trip and goes on the fishing trip with Alan.
Yeah.
So I thought that was very interesting because of what we later learn about Sean. We later learn, of course, that Sean's parents were like absentee. His mom and dad were in and out. He never really had anybody around. And I found it very interesting that Alan had a similar experience with his mother, and then sort of becomes the surrogate father figure to Sean in so many ways throughout the show.
The Matthews are very much like family to Sean.
Right.
Later with Jack.
Yeah.
Although Jack not so much because like,
so that's like really interesting to me. I don't know. I just found that very interesting. Like, I would just be very curious about the people who wrote the storyline, and if that was intentional. Because when do we find out about Sean's family?
Soon.
Yeah,
like really soon.
It's like later, right?
I think it's like beginning of season 2, right?
Yeah, I think so too. That we kind of find out like, oh, his parents like aren't really around.
I mean, because we learn about his sister, but then she's never mentioned again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I mean, we'll definitely be there soon because that's such a huge part of the whole arc of the show, like why Sean is what Sean is.
Yeah.
With this episode, like, it's so interesting, like how much Grandma overcompensates.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because she's only in 3 scenes in the episode, and 2 of them are back to back. Like, and the second one, like the second scene is literally like, it's literally, I think like it ends with like, well, I want to talk about when Corey gets the card, how he like pins Grandma on Morgan, like he like pins her on Morgan. She's like, it's just really funny seeing a very small kid get crushed by a larger kid and Rick McClanahan. But like the next scene is Eric coming back from the car show with Grandma, and he has like the Lamborghini girl signature like right over here. Like, who gets the signature right here though? Like, I don't know.
Dumb teenage boys.
But like that, it's like get like get like here or here.
I guess he wanted it where he could see it. Like he wanted to be able to be like,
and it's like his whole arm too. It's like I don't think it was
really
long, but like it's like from like here to like here. Yeah, like I find that so fascinating. Like how it's so funny how he's like, I wonder how long you go without washing my arms.
Right. Like he really wanted to keep that signature.
Yeah.
But and also, like, was it supposed to be like a supermodel that signed it? Or
yeah, like, well, he calls her a Lamborghini girl. Her name was like Graziella or something like that.
Okay, so I guess in their world, she's supposed to be like a big
yeah. I mean, she's clearly like a hot model.
Yeah,
obviously, but like,
that's something I've always wondered too. Is like, is this person supposed to be like a famous model, or was this just a very attractive woman, and that was how he approached the situation? Was like, sign my arm, you know? Or is it like is this like a celebrity autograph, or is he just like pretty girl?
I mean, that's what I do when I see pretty girls. I'm like, sign my arm
right here.
I'm like, no, that'd be insane. I also love like how like Eric, when Corey joins that scene, like they're having a little talk on the couch after Grandma goes away. He's like, we're drifting apart. And like, so like, cause like, I feel like as soon as like Corey stops loving baseball, which is like season 2, he's just obsessed with girls.
That's an interesting point. And I think that's accurate. Yeah, that's a very interesting point.
because they drop baseball quick for him. They drop it really quick.
Yeah.
And then shortly later in the scene, we get the introduction of the second of the what the Feeney is happening. That's what I'm gonna call this. We get creepy Feeney which happens for 2 lines when he's like, "Hey, Eric, how do you entertain young girls that are your age?"
Right, and then they don't really touch that again. Like, because Eric kind of comments on it, but not really. He doesn't go at him the way that he would in a later season.
Yeah, because
seasons down the line, would have like went after him.
It's not like, hey, how would I entertain my niece who's your age? It's how would I entertain a girl that's your age?
It's like, what's going on over there, Feeney?
I mean, you're not my teacher anymore, Feeney. I get it. That's cool, but you're a pedophile. And then we quickly find out that like he's got a niece, and like Eric kind of blows it off, saying he's got strep throat. He's got strep everything, I think he says.
Yeah, he's like, it's down in my pancreas.
And then, like, of course, that part ends right there. And shortly later, well, Eric asks how long he can go without showering to keep the signature on the arm, which I find hilarious. It's so stupid.
It's so dumb.
But, yeah. And then, literally the next scene, Eric and Morgan are in the kitchen, and you see Feeney and his niece, who Eric was in shell shock basically, and it's like, I need to take her to dinner to see a movie, and then to dinner.
That's his only play: dinner and a movie, dinner and a movie, dinner and a movie. I love the line. He says something like, I've got to do something that she's never experienced before. I've got to show her the world. I'm going to take her to dinner and a movie. Dinner and a movie. Like, that's his only.
I mean, I've done that a lot for dates.
He's like, do something amazing. Dinner and a movie.
And you quickly find out, well, in 1993, we did not know who this was, but this is Kerry Russell, who I've met before, so I can say this. Very sweet, very nice person who's stunning and awesome. And she's great in her 1-episode arc as Jessica.
Yeah. And you see in it too, it's interesting just to recognize how skilled she was as an actress at that point. Is I'm watching her and everything she's doing is very subtle, especially comparatively to like Will Friedle, who's kind of like a very like big and vivacious actor.
I mean, yeah.
Everything was so subtle. Even when she's interacting with Morgan, like I don't know, I thought it was really lovely, like her very like small, subtle performance, because we got a lot about that character from the very little bit that she did. And so to me, I'm like, this is why she became like who she is now.
Yeah, I mean, she's also like in 2 scenes in this episode too. But like, also I forgot to mention, like when you mentioned about the timer thing, because before Eric goes out there, he sets a timer for 1 minute, tells Corey to come out, and Eric in that minute hops the fence, picks up fertilizer, and then casually throws it, and the bag breaks.
Yeah.
And rebounding's like, did the bag just break? The bag just broke, and you actually see Kerry Russell kind of crack, like I think it's
and that's also what I liked about it, is that like, she might have been breaking, but it also is in keeping with the character. Like, this character is allowed to laugh at this silly boy. So I just thought that was a very well performed scene by Kerry Russell.
Yeah.
You know?
Also, like, I want to bring this up because it's important in my mind that Morgan is wearing the same outfit that Grandma is.
Yes.
Like tiny, like the line dancing outfit.
It's so cute. It's so cute. It's so cute.
And this is like also like when we get another side of Feeney in a weird way. I want to call this Wingman Feeney because he's terrible.
Yeah. He's when he's like, oh, you should invite me along. You should extend an invitation to me too. And then he of course declines the invitation because because I think that's the interesting thing too, is that like, even at this point, even though Eric is still kind of a dunce at this point, and we haven't seen their relationship blossom in the way it ultimately does, where he becomes Eric's mentor, you can still see there's a bit of affection for Eric at this point. Like that he likes Eric enough to trust him with his niece, you know? And that he was it seems as though he was kind of scheming and hoping for this to begin with, you know? Yeah. But like he couldn't come out and ask Eric, take my niece out, because one,
take my very attractive niece out on a date.
But like that's like awkward because like you don't want him to feel pressured, but you also like, you know. So yeah. I think Feeney had a little scheme going, you know, when his niece arrived.
Yeah, like it's really interesting because we also get sassy Feeney here too. We had so much weird Feeney in this episode. It's like there's so little like normal straight up Mr. Matthews. You know, like and then the next scene is like when Corey realizes that Grandma's not going to take him to Baltimore, and the way Betsy Randall handles this as Amy Matthews is just so beautiful and heartbreaking. We're going to talk a little bit more about like her overall stuff in like her segment this week because they'll be a little supersized probably. But I just love how she's like, "Hey, we're going to distract you from all this horrible crap that you have to deal with Bernice," who's mentioned as Bernice once in the episode.
Oh, was that her name?
That's her name. Like you hear her name like once. Like I think Amy's like, "Hi, Bernice," or something like that. And it's just such a beautiful moment when she's like, "We're gonna make some muffins." And later that night when man, that like this night scene that's happening is such a weird one in my personal opinion. Like it's so interesting, like with Eric and Jessica coming back from the carnival, and it gets a little bit weird, and Morgan's there, and then she goes away, and then Alan and Sean come back from the fishing trip and see them kissing. After the 40th mention of the giant signature on the arm. But
he still has for some reason.
I mean, it looked like it could have been permanent marker. I mean, that'd been bad.
It's just funny too that he didn't try to wash it off for his date. He just like kept it.
Like it's so perfect. I don't talk about this often, but this happened to me. I was an extra on a movie when I was like 13 years old. When I was 14 years old, called The Crew.
Called what?
The Crew. And like we shot it for 2 days. The second day was on my birthday, and I was like next like the whole cast. Like it was like a scene where for some reason I was next to them. And like the cast like Burt Reynolds, Richard Dreyfuss, Jennifer Tilly, like and a bunch Dan Hedaya, like a whole bunch of other people that were like, you know, names at least. And and I was like I became friendly with Jennifer Tilly. And she bought me a birthday cake.
Aww.
And she sang me happy birthday and gave me a kiss on my cheek. And I did not wash my face for like 3 days.
That's really cute though.
Yeah.
And such a
for like a second.
boy thing. Like,
I mean, especially as a 14-year-old boy, Jennifer Tilly.
Right. Like that's such a teenage boy thing. It's just like, yeah, I'm just gonna leave it.
I mean, with this really, really hot actress. So yeah, I've always been a fan of Jennifer Tilly. But I like fully understood like why he's like not going to wash the signature off his arm. And I just love the reaction of everyone after they see after like she says bye. They're like, yeah. Like
all standing there, like, yeah. It's interesting too that Corey's the one out of the group still who is still in the little boy mentality of just kind of being like, girls, what? You know?
I'd rather make muffins in this episode.
Right. Where like Sean is like, hey.
Sean is like the worst of them all. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. That's such a 90s term. I feel like we heard that term a lot in the 90s. Like the lip master. What is that from? I feel like I've heard that 1,000 times as a kid.
I think it's a play on the Rob Schneider sketch from SNL, right?
Oh, you're right.
That makes sense to me. I mean, especially because that's early 90s. That was like 91 or so.
Yeah.
A sketch.
So that's even more perfect. I love that Sean is quoting SNL like in this world.
I mean, if I'm wrong, please someone point out to me like an email comment. I'll gladly correct this mistake. It doesn't matter. But I mean, it just like the way he's saying it, like the head nod thing.
It had that like tone to it, like that like intonation. Yeah, I I love that. I love that. Because that also gives us a little, I hope it's true, because that offers us a little bit more of a glimpse of Sean Hunter.
Yeah. And also, I love the line that Corey gives that, like, he was looking long enough to watch you swap spit with a Feeney.
Yeah. That's such a little boy line.
And then, like, Corey and Alan have this nice little scene. And Alan's like, I'm really hungry. Sean ate everything on the boat, even the worms, and I'm so hungry right now. And he goes to the kitchen, and you see conservatively 200 muffins.
Which I love. I also love the little touch. I noticed that there were muffin tins in the sink. I don't know why, but that just also made me smile to like feel like he really tried to bake these, that like Corey was really like going to town and like really making muffins.
I mean, he made like 200 fucking muffins with his mom while waiting for dad and grandma. Like, and they're horribly dry muffins.
He's like, this is the thanks I get. I cooked all day. Corey. Yeah, that was a really well done scene, I think, too. I also like the dynamic. We definitely get a sense of the dynamic between Alan and Corey too, because he's saying to Corey, he's like, yeah, she did this to me all the time. Pick a subject. You like rocket ships. You like I forget the other things he says. He's like, you like baseball. You like rocket ships. You like this. You like that. And so Corey's like, I'll take rocket ships. And then Alan tells him a story about like how his mother was supposed to go on the class trip to the museum or something to see like the rockets at the, which by the way, slight sidebar. So the show takes place in Philly, and I grew up in Philly. So I love when they mention things that are real, because I just get a real kick out of that. Yeah. So the museum that he mentions is, he calls it the Franklin Science Museum. But in Philly, there's a museum called the Franklin Institute that is like a science museum that like everybody in Philly knows and goes to, and it's like a big deal. So to me, knowing that she didn't like take him to the Franklin Institute is pretty bad, because I know what's there. I know how awesome that's meant to be, and what a disappointment that would be as a kid.
She took him to see the rocket launch.
Yeah, at Cape Canaveral instead.
Which is closer to me. I mean, I've never been to Cape Canaveral, but like...
Yeah. But, as a kid, but also like to thinking about Alan as a kid and thinking about like what that constant disappointment would be like if the adult who's supposed to be like your primary parental figure is consistently disappointing you. Yeah. And then like what it would do to you if like your expectation becomes disappointment, but then simultaneously your expectation is this like grandiose way of like making up for, like compensating for that disappointment. Like what does that do to a person? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like how does that shape how he runs his family,
Which also makes it really interesting with what he's about to do, like in the next season when he buys the outdoors store. Because he does say he wants to do with his life instead of what he has to do, but he has to do this too because...
Yeah, that's very interesting too. Yeah, because that would be that's very interesting. Yeah, because I guess if we frame it in that context, we maybe think that, okay, because Alan was so used to having a parental figure who disappointed him, he determined he was not going to be that figure. He was going to do what he had to do for his family and got stuck in a job he hated because he was doing what he felt like he needed to as opposed to what he wanted to. Because maybe in his mind, following what you want rather than doing what you should results in like being like his mother,
Yeah. And so then we get his mother back to say bye, basically. Yeah. And like everyone like that's been like, ugh, Bernice Matthews is disappointment in a weird way. They're all like, "Oh my God, you're back! We love you so much!" Like,
right? They're just
like immediately.
Yeah, it's
she
weird.
takes in the chin this episode, like from like everyone.
Yeah, it's a really like. It's interesting that nobody called her out on it. You know what I mean? Like they don't really like ever. I don't know. I found that very interesting. That like Amy wasn't really mad, Alan wasn't really mad. Like they all just eventually accept it, which is very lovely, but also just very interesting. That they're all just kind of like, that's grandma.
and then we get the final form of Feeney coming in. What I'm gonna call cockblocker Feeney. And he's like, "Where's Eric? Where's Eric?" And like Eric ran in like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
He's like, "I've been in my room for 20 minutes," and then like it's like Eric's been in his room for 20 minutes. Like,
and grandma cosigns.
Oh my God! So this is really funny because I forgot about this.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the Kiwanis International Club in high school for like a second. So I was like, "Yeah, Kiwanis," when she brings it up. She's like, "I'm in the Kiwanis Club." Yeah! And then we get a beautiful callback at the end of the episode to like the first scene with Grandma where she talks about how she got the card. Where she's like, "I killed a man in Reno to watch him die." And we find out that the card is the rookie card of Cal Ripken. And it's worth hundreds of dollars, not 7 like Grandma said it was.
Yeah.
And then like Eric says maybe she did kill a man in Reno just to watch him die.
Yeah. I like that Grandma, I mean the episode was appropriately titled, you know, because Grandma really was a Rolling Stone.
She goes with the wind, man.
She's a Rolling Stone, and I like to think that like she won that card off of somebody in some kind of like, you know, poker game or something crazy. Like, I don't know. I like to think that Grandma didn't just buy that card.
Yeah.
Like, she probably didn't kill a man, but she definitely got that card in a somewhat shifty way.
I agree, yeah. Was there anything else you want to talk about in the episode before we get to the other small stuff we talked about in the show?
I think we've covered everything that I wanted to discuss. Like, for me, the thing that really just stood out was just that dynamic between just how they handled the whole, like, grandma disappointment and what it, for me, as an audience member who has seen the whole canon, like, including through Girl Meets World, how, to me, how that frames everything else. You know what I mean? And I think it's just such a... also indicative of just how well done the series was itself. Yeah. Because who knows how much of this was intentional at the beginning to be carried through. And even if it wasn't intentional to carry these through lines throughout the whole, like, through all the incarnations of this this canon, it's interesting that it maybe does it on its own, you know? That it all just kind of ties together so seamlessly in this.
I mean, there's always been a lot of love with Boy Meets World, like from the creators downward. You know, like they've always had a lot of respect for the subject matter and the characters and the audience. I've never ever felt I was talked down by this show. You know, I
agree with that. I absolutely agree.
Like even when I rewatched this a few months ago, before I decided to do this version of this rewatch, it's just. Like it's still enjoyable, you know. Like it's really not like oh yeah, nostalgia enjoyable. It's like it's actually well done.
Right. There's some like incredible episodes of this that you can just.
And this isn't even a good episode. It's a fine episode.
Right, exactly. This is, and I think that's what's interesting too is like when you suggested this episode to me to like watch, I was just kind of like, that's one of the lamer episodes. I don't know. But once I rewatched it, I was, especially because it's not the first time I've watched it, I was able to like take so much more from it. Yeah. Sort of like watching it with like this renewed sort of like analytical mindset about it. That really gave me a new appreciation for the show itself, you know?
100%. So we're now going to get into the Minkus Minute. Minkus Minute. Guess what, guys? Minkus doesn't appear in this episode at all, so that was the Minkus Minute. Minkus minute. All right, guys. So now it's time for Betsy Randall's best TV mom in the world. A one, 2, 3, 4. Betsy Randall's best TV mom. Yo. All right. So I think she's a really good episode this time. You know.
Yeah.
Like starting off at the top of the bat. Like she isn't upset that Eric is training Morgan, but sees it as quality time. Which I find that pretty cool.
That is actually really cute.
I loved how like you meet like the only person that really knows how grandma is Amy. Like she's like like at the top everyone's like grandma, and he's like hi, like I know what you're gonna do. Please don't make it this hard this time, you know.
Yeah.
And like just that little beautiful little scene she has with Corey when she's like, you know what, let's make some muffins, you know. It's a very like she's like if this were like an improv scene, she's a straight man. Improv scene, she grounds it all, you know. Because everyone's like grandma. She's like, hey, grandma. Like that's it. You know? Yeah.
Yeah, I love when Corey realizes she's not coming, and he's like, she's not coming, is she? And her just very gentle, like, no. And it was like so like loving and warm and just compassionate. There was no anger behind it. It was just a very compassionate, very understanding, like, no.
Yeah.
It was like really lovely. Like, yeah, I agree. I think she is like one of my favorite TV moms. Because also I feel like a lot of moms on TV shows, especially ones that are focused on the kids, didn't really get a lot of like depth to them. You know what I mean?
At least in the 80s and 90s for sure.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like the ones that like come to mind are like that have like strong depth and shows that the mom is not the focal point. Are Betsy Randall, Amy Matthews, and Martha Plimpton in Raising Hope.
I've never watched that show.
It's in your wheelhouse.
Okay.
Did you like My Name Is Earl?
I did, yeah.
It's from the same guy, Greg Garcia.
Okay.
And it's really good. I liked it better than that. It's all about people that have kids too young. So Martha Plimpton's a grandma in that. When she Martha Plimpton's like 45 or so when that show started. And it's a great show. Like it's a show that I don't feel like everyone talks about much, which they should. I'm actually probably gonna do a rewatch of My Name Is Earl if this quarantine goes on much longer, honestly. Because I used to love that show in college.
That will be a very interesting one.
I think it's gonna hold up very well personally. I'm really serious. Like, I'm really dead serious. I think it's great.
I honestly haven't watched that since it was on. And I kind of like was like a casual viewer. Like I was in and out of My Name Is Earl. So
do you have anything you want to add for the Betsy Randall segment of the show?
Yeah, I really love her as a TV mom. I think she's really great. And yeah, even just like you said, the way she handles grandma too is interesting to me because, you know, if she like, you know, I don't have kids, but like I imagine that as a mother, the first thing you want to do is like you want to protect your kids, but how do you protect them from their grandmother? You know what I mean? You can't.
Especially have a close family, yeah.
Right, like there's no way to really like. How do you navigate that? So I think it's very interesting that she chooses to like acknowledge, like she already knows what's about to happen. She kind of acknowledges it without saying it when grandma first arrives. She, you know, lets grandma come in, do her thing, but is like literally ready and waiting for the inevitable fallout that she knows is going to happen. Like she's already waiting, ready to bake muffins with Corey before Corey even realizes that grandma's not coming, which I think is a testament to this character as a mom. Like she just kind of was like, gotta let it play out how it does, but I'm going to be there for my family when the fallout ensues. So
yeah,
that's why we love Amy Matthews, you know?
She's the best. All right. Now we move on to our episode MVPs. This was a tough one because it's a really strong episode for everyone. Kind of like the last episode was for me with Boys to Mensa. Morgan is not going to be my MVP this time, although she's great. She's back to that 5-line Morgan, and that's okay. For me, it's going to be actually Mr. Feeney. It's the first time we see a different side of him. The whole different many faces of Feeney are very fascinating to me, and I think we get Feeney as the comedy relief in a very good way this episode. And what about you, Shamira?
MVP for me, I would say I would give it to Amy Matthews, because she almost is like in the background for most of the episode, but when she does step forward, it's with purpose. It's to like, I mean, the episode kind of rests kind of in her care, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's like if her character didn't handle things the way that her character did, then Corey, Eric, Alan all would have been devastated by what happened. But she just kind of is like, she just kind of sat back and just kind of very subtly protected her family. So for me, Amy Matthews, MVP. I love Amy Matthews.
She's so great.
Yeah.
So any plugs? I also want to call out the amazing shirt they're wearing today, which I could not tell it was Topanga for a bit, just because lighting is always fun.
I know my lighting sucks.
But yeah.
Topanga, look at that face. Look at her face.
Danielle Fischel. I gotta love it. So plugs. I know you have your awesome web series and Zammy.
Yes, my series and Zammy follows a character played by me who is stuck in quarantine with her puppet alter ego who's named Zammy. And you can find us on YouTube at Ann Zammy, and also on Instagram we are Ann Zammy as well. So you can look for us there.
And do you have any like other type of do you want to plug out like Instagram for yourself or Twitter or anything like that? Or
yeah, like that's pretty much my where you can find me on Instagram and Twitter. Ann Zammy. My Instagram is Shamira _Clark, I believe.
We'll look it up and we'll make sure it's right.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a thing I should know. I honestly I have no they're all just my name, but some of them have underscores.
Oh, I'm so happy having you on this show. It makes me so happy. Okay, so for my plugs quickly, just keeping it simple. If you want to email the show or be on the show or whatever, I'll gladly answer. Email markremeetsworld@gmail.com. New episodes every week, as you know. Please like, subscribe, comment, share, all that stuff. We're hitting pretty big numbers now for the show. It's growing, so please keep helping it grow. Because I like doing this, and we only have 150 more episodes to do.
Only.
Woo! So Shamira, thank you so much for coming and doing this show.
Thank you for having me. You know, this is my favorite pastime, talking about Boy Meets World.
I know, and you're going to be on this show more, so don't worry. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.